This might include spoilers for Baby Reindeer, just FYI. I was told to watch this. And I think Alex wanted me to watch this before we talked about this show on Sardonicast, so I kind of have to. I didn't... This is what he sent me, right? This was also posted on the subreddit. I'm just going to make sure it's the same thing. Oh my god, there's a different one that he sent me. Did Piers Morgan do more than one?
This show...
Oh my god. All right, what's going on? I don't fucking know.
...is incredible.
Baby Reindeer.
He got absolutely obsessed.
Our beef curtain.
I did not move.
Everybody is talking about Baby Reindeer.
Now fans are trying to find the real people behind the story.
Because it does depict real-life events.
The editing.
Blown up so quickly and so fast all around the world that I didn't expect it.
First of all, why have you decided to go public? When did you know that
the music
you were the person being depicted? He says the whole thing started because he felt sorry for you. Have you ever been to prison? What do you feel about Richard Gadd? You think he's mentally unwell? Did you ever turn up at his... Here's the thing, I doubt you.
Who
Reindeer
cares?
are told by Netflix is that this is a true story, not based on a true story or inspired by real events.
Okay. First rule about media literacy, literally, is that even if you're watching a documentary, you have to expect that some things are embellished, right? That's all I'm going to say. Nothing that says this is a true story, why would you get hung up on, it doesn't say based on a true story, it says it is a true story. That's already dumb. There's no there's no, narrative, unless it's a single unbroken shot and it's a security camera or something. Right? Even documentaries, every documentary, they embellish some things for narrative effect. That's number one thing to understand about media literacy, is understanding that. Is being able to watch something and still have something in the back of your mind being okay, not all of this is true. There's some things that are done for dramatic effect. There are some things that are, either exaggerated or told out of order, but it's for the sake of a good story, right? If you watch something that says this is a true story and you believe literally every single thing is true, you're fucking stupid. You don't understand media at all. Anyway.
But a true story. It's emphatic about that. The show's writer, comedian Richard Gadd, even plays the lead role himself. Many millions of people across the world.
I did not know that the writer was the actor, actually.
Have now seen it. It's one of the biggest Netflix shows of the year. And I've watched it all. It's a riveting, emotionally intense drama worthy of all the critical plaudits it's now receiving. Viewers are gripped by the apparently real-life struggle of a fledgling stand-up comedian who is mercilessly stalked by an older woman, Martha, in a 3-year onslaught of harassment. Martha bombards him with tens of thousands of lurid emails, leaving hundreds of voicemails, lurking outside his house, attacking his partner, even confronting his family and friends. Now, Richard Gadd said that he and Netflix had gone to such great lengths to disguise Martha's real identity that she wouldn't even recognise herself. But that wasn't true. Many people did recognise her very quickly, and the woman at the centre of the story was outed online within hours simply by cross-referencing her posts on social media with those that were used in the show. Other details about her character bear a striking, unavoidable similarity with the real woman now accused of being the crazed stalker Martha. The show raises uncomfortable questions about the line between fact and fiction, fantasy and reality. Another innocent man in the television industry has been falsely accused of sexual assault based on one of the storylines in the drama. Well, Fiona Harvey is the woman outed as the real Martha of Baby Reindeer. She's chosen to confirm her identity because she wants to have a right of reply. And so, in her first television interview, she joins me now in the studio.
Oh, shit.
Well, thank you for joining me, Fiona. First of all, why have you decided to go public?
The internet sleuths tracked me down and hounded me and gave me death threats, so it wasn't really a choice. I was forced into this situation.
What do you hope to achieve in this interview?
I came on your show because you're a veteran broadcaster. I think you'll give me a fair hearing. You were persecuted yourself not so long ago, so that's why I've chosen...
You were persecuted yourself not so long ago. That's kind of a funny thing to say.
...the show.
Have you watched the drama?
Not at all. I've heard about the court scene, about the jail sentences and all this sort of stuff.
You really haven't watched any of it?
I haven't watched any of it.
You're not curious to?
No, I think it's sick. It's taken over enough of my life. I find it quite obscene. I find it horrifying, misogynistic. Some of the death threats
Misogynistic?
have been really terrible online. People phoning me up. It's been absolutely horrendous. I wouldn't give credence to something like that, and it's not really my kind of drama.
When did you know that you were the person being depicted in this?
5 years ago on BBC Breaking News, I saw Mr. Gadd had written a play for the Edinburgh Festival, and he was holding up placards, MP's wife stalker, and all of this, and he called it Baby Reindeer. That's all I knew. And I thought, well, I've only met this guy 2 or 3 times. I don't know him. And left it at that. I should have possibly jumped into that stage.
And when did you know that Netflix were doing something?
2 weeks ago. I had just moved flats, so it was 2 weeks ago past Saturday.
And how did you hear?
I saw on BBC Breaking News that he'd sold to Netflix, and both he and this character, Martha, this Jessica actress, seemed to be promoting mercilessly.
Did you think then it was you that they were depicting?
I thought it was me they were depicting 5 years ago because of this MP's wife stalker article that had been a number done on me by the Sunday Mail 25 years ago when I was going for Donald Joe's parliamentary seat. So I had a vague idea then. The Daily Mail had approached me on the Wednesday, 2 weeks ago. So sort of 2 weeks tomorrow, but 2 weeks ago, if you see what I mean, and told me that I was getting death threats online, that I've been outed as Martha, the TikTok videos. And
were you online at all? Because you were before, but are you these days online?
I've come off Facebook as of yesterday.
Are you on X, what used to be Twitter?
No, I'm
you had an account?
Yeah, that's right. Some years ago.
I like how he has to say what used to be Twitter. Like, no, nobody can just call it X. Are you on X? Like, nobody can say that.
I'm scared to Google up BBC Breaking News. I'm certainly scared to Google up Daily Mail in case I am on it in some bizarre circus.
That moment you realised it was you that they were depicting from what you were reading. The sleuths, as you say, had found your tweets. They compared some of the phraseology. They'd done the maths and they worked out this was you that was being depicted. How did that make you feel?
Absolutely horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. I couldn't believe he'd done that. And so long after the first meeting, we're talking 10, 12 years ago, really horrendous. I didn't know who to trust. I was told by the Daily Mail, don't trust those bleeps in Scotland. Whereas I found John Dingwall of the Daily Record completely wonderful, actually. He's acted with total courtesy. I couldn't believe this had happened.
I want to play a little clip. This is just some of the reaction to Baby Reindeer from members of the public.
She ends up becoming this the craziest stalker I've ever seen in my life.
And this is all a true story?
It's all a true story, yeah. And they found the real woman online.
So I assume in the actual thing, obviously given her a different name, it's a different woman. But you know what I find? They always manage to find a similar looking woman and the build tends to be the same.
I have a theory about this, so I feel like he's done it on purpose because he knew that people would find her and he wanted to make her life hell a bit.
When you hear that, what do you think?
The final guy on there, I think it's correct. I think he always wanted this to come out, to persecute someone, to take attention away from him and this rape allegation. And I just generally think he's got extreme psychiatric problems.
I mean, there's no doubt he has problems. I mean, if you watch given that he's written it about himself, if you watch the whole thing as I did, all 5, 6 episodes, whatever it is, he has a lot of problems. He's quite open about that. The question, I guess, which we'll come to, is how much of the way he depicts you is true. And your position is that it's just not factual.
It's a work of fiction, it's a work of hyperbole, as I've always said. And
hyperbole.
His name is Richard Gadd, and he worked as a jobbing barman on benefits in the Holy Arms, and we met 2 or 3 times. Those are the only.
Well, let's go through some of these things. So you first met him. I mean, the show shows you coming in to a London pub. You just named the pub, and he's working behind the bar, Richard Gadd, and he offers you a cup of tea. Is that what happened?
No, that's not correct. He didn't offer me a cup of tea. Nobody gets anything free from the Holy Arms. I was in for a meal with a drink of lemonade, and I was very, very hungry. I'm diabetic, so very hungry. So that's.
Did you talk to him?
So what I want to know is if she only met him 2 or 3 times, and the entire, like the majority of it is like just fabricated, then how did people connect her to it? That's what I want to know. What social media posts did she make that were so close to what was shown in the show, but still barely she communicated with him?
He interrupted the conversation. There was another barman there. And he said, "Oh, you're Scottish," and basically commandeered the conversation. I was talking to somebody. It's very rude to interrupt. So he seemed to be obsessed with me from that moment onwards.
I mean, just speaking to you, I've never met you before, but you do look and sound very similar to the actress in the drama.
I haven't seen the actress. We're both Scottish. We've both got dark hair. She's considerably younger than me. I think she's about 18 years younger than me.
How old are you, if you don't mind?
I'm 58. I'm a year younger than you. And I think Martha, Jessica, the actress, is about 40, 38, 40.
It says in the show that you proceed to return to the same pub time and again, but you never paid for a drink.
I don't drink alcohol. And
did you pay for anything? You had
lemonade or soft drinks.
Would he give you free drinks?
No, absolutely not. This is sort of a depiction of me as a pauper who wouldn't stand around or stand a drink. It's nonsense.
It says that you told Richard Gadd he looked like a baby reindeer toy you once had as a child, hence the name of the show.
Yeah,
is that true?
I appear to have written most of the show in my sleep. I dressed
Did you have a baby reindeer?
I had a toy reindeer,
well,
and he shaved his head. That bit is true. And there were reindeers in the shops. It was Christmas time or something. It was a joke. So I have inadvertently penned the name of the show.
Right, but that is true.
That's true. That's a true fact.
Whilst bantering with you, Richard Gadd told you he'd like to hang your curtains. Is that true?
This, I think, was a Holy Arms joke about curtains and a lot of sexual innuendo.
He did say that?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it true that you caught Richard Gadd looking through your window after he followed you home one night?
False.
You never saw him at your house?
I didn't see him at my house. I think it would be impossible to look through a window.
Did anyone else ever see him there?
No.
So as far as you were concerned, he never turned up at your place?
Correct.
But the Netflix show has him doing that?
Yes, I believe so. I've been told that.
But that categorically didn't happen?
That categorically didn't happen.
In the course of your relationship with Richard Gadd, you sent him 41,000 emails, 350 voice messages, 744 tweets, 48 Facebook messages, and 106 letters.
That's simply not true. If somebody was sending somebody 41,000 emails or something, they'd be doing how many a day? Lots.
Well, it'd be obsessively
Yeah, absolutely not. Absolutely
what did you send him?
None of that's true. I don't think I sent him anything.
It's weird how she's here to argue about what was true or not on the show without having seen it, but like I'm going to hear her out for sure. You know, I'm a fair, reasonable person that will give anybody the time of day if anybody is familiar with me or how I engage with things, right?
You never said him anything?
No, I think there may have been a couple of emails exchanging. That was it. Just jokey banter emails.
Netflix have said that these details are the real ones. That this is exactly
completely incorrect.
So you're denying sending anything to him?
There may have been a couple of emails.
Text messages?
No.
Facebook messages?
No.
Did you tweet him?
I may have done years and years ago.
You actually tweeted him numerous times?
No, it wasn't numerous. It was about 18 tweets there or 14.
It's quite a lot for someone who's not that well known.
But we were all friends. You know, it was banter.
Right, but it establishes you were contacted. That's in public.
Yes, I mean this.
Did you write him letters?
No. I think when I saw the rape interview, that's actually correct. When I saw that in the Guardian, I said, "What a shame! It's not your fault."
You did write to him?
One later.
So you would say you only sent him a handful of emails. You never texted him.
No.
You tweeted him 18 times, you think. You never sent a Facebook message.
Oh, that's
and you
right.
wrote him one letter.
Yeah.
So why have they got all these details here which are supported?
Who is they? Netflix.
Who has sent all these
correct. So, I'm sorry?
Who has sent all this stuff to him?
I have no idea. I think he's probably made it up himself.
I mean, you could prove, I guess, quite easily it wasn't you.
Correct.
Because it'll be on your computer.
Yeah, correct. That's right.
Would you be happy for someone to look at that?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
What do you have? What technology do you use?
Right, what technology do I use? I'm very, very old.
I mean, it wouldn't be on your computer. It would be something that you'd have to request a court summons for to either the cell phone provider or Facebook or any one of the web services, right? You can delete these things on your... It wouldn't be on your computer. You would have to actually get a court summons, in which case it would be stored on the servers of whatever company was used for social media.
Smartphones now, because the other one packed up a week before moving. That's it.
Because they're all sent from an iPhone.
Yes, so...
They believe it wasn't actually an iPhone ever being used.
Meaning
that someone was hiding the fact that they were actually not using it.
I like how you just explain what the show said to her. Like, why is she on here if she hasn't watched it?
They were pretending it was from an iPhone.
I don't really understand that.
Well, people can mask where they're sending stuff from.
Okay, right. I'm not Technology was Kid of the Year. I wasn't doing that either.
If she hasn't watched it.
I mean, obviously, when you make such an emphatic denial of the central point of the story, you're basically accusing both him but also Netflix of lying about it.
I am.
And that's pretty defamatory.
It's not defamatory, it's true.
No, it's defamatory that they've been to you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I misunderstood the idea.
It would be funny if this wasn't even the real person. that would be funny.
Exactly. I don't see how anyone could do 41,000 emails and all this kind of stuff. You know.
I don't know how much you know about technology, but are you aware that if it was you sending those emails, it would be very easy for the police, for example, to work out exactly where they come from? The IP address would be all
Yes, I understand that, and it stays on forever. But the point is, this was years and years ago. We were congratulating him.
But it would all still be there.
Yes, I understand that. Yeah.
And if you sent 41,000 emails,
this is just a lot of rubbish. Yes, so that should be stored there.
Well, they'd all be there.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got them.
He's not got 41,000 emails. That's over a year.
Good to you. There's only a handful.
Yeah. I mean, how long would that take someone to type up?
How many do you think you sent him?
A handful.
Like, what does that mean? How many?
Listen, 10.
10 emails.
Not 41,000.
Right, there's a massive disparity between the two.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, if it's not you that sent all this, then clearly Martha cannot be you.
Yes, Martha cannot be me because there are a number of allegations that have been put to me by journalists that are simply not true. There's a whole play. It's not just the emails. There's a sexual assault in the canal. There's...
But if the police looked at this, and if you sue, for example, then this will go to a court of law, and then on discovery, people will look into all this. The phone company will be asked about evidence of all the text messages.
If they used a real-life person where, let's say, the show creator, writer, had a situation where he imagined being stalked by her and then used that as the basis to write his program, and if what he wrote in the show was so similar to public things that she made online that would be tied back to her, and the entire thing was fabricated, then she would have a good case. And I'm leaving that as a possibility in my mind. I'm not discounting what she's saying. I'm just being skeptical of both sides here.
The internet providers will provide all the backup for the emails. Facebook will be asked about the Facebook messages, and so on. So all of this would come out in a court case.
In disclosure, yes.
And you're prepared to do that?
Yes. Because I didn't write in the emails.
Who do you think did?
I have no idea. I think he probably made them up himself. I have no idea. 41,000 emails.
Yeah. I mean, would you accept that someone who did that would be very obsessive about someone?
Yes. I mean, that's a lot of emails. And why now? Why didn't you go to the police at the time? Or this sort of doesn't make sense.
I mean, the fact that Netflix have said this is based on reality, this is a true story, that Martha did, the real life Martha, the person they based this on, who Richard Gaddis...
It's really easy for me. I don't know why this isn't easy for a lot of people. It's really easy for me to look at different sides of a situation and say, I don't know. I don't know why most people aren't comfortable saying that about anything in their lives. They choose hard stances.
Has written about is the person that sent these, and he has the evidence to prove it. What you're saying is that proves you cannot be Martha.
Yes, and I would like to see Netflix's evidence for that, which would come out in disclosure as well.
And you're 100% sure it's not you?
Yeah, absolutely.
He goes on to say that you heckled Richard Gadd when he was appearing in his stand-up shows. Did you ever do that?
Wait, if you're saying you can't be Martha, then why are you on the show? If you're saying it's not you.
Never. Did you ever attend his stand-up?
I think I went to one. It was a long, long time ago.
And you never shouted out or anything?
Why would I do that? No. I mean,
do you ever shout out comedy shows?
Like, why are you on this program if you're saying that you're not her? Is that what they said?
Oh, no, I don't generally go to comedy shows.
So you never heckled him?
No.
Did you ever attack Richard Gadd's girlfriend because you were jealous?
No, I don't think he had a girlfriend. I think he's homosexual. But no, I have never been to his house or attacked any girlfriend or anything like that.
There are lots of scenes where Martha is sitting outside his house all day, for many days, sitting in a bus stop, sitting out there, walking around, and would occasionally shout at him. Did you ever do that?
No, I haven't seen the show, but I got all the court allegations, the trial allegations.
I'm going to come to that, but on that point, did you ever turn up at his house?
No, I don't know where he lived. No, absolutely not.
So whoever's doing all this is somebody completely different.
This is a fictional character, hyperbole, exaggeration. This is a fiction of his imagination.
They say it's based on a real person.
Who's they? Netflix.
Well, Netflix and Richard Gadd.
Netflix are about as mad as Richard Gadd. If they're saying that, it's absolutely not correct.
Did you ever contact Richard Gadd's parents? And
no, that allegation was put to me by journalists. No.
Never happened?
No.
There's one key point in the drama, that it has Martha's character pleading guilty to intimidating Richard Gadd in court and sentenced to 9 months prison time. Let's watch.
You're charged with the stalking of Mr. Donald Dunn between the dates of the 14th of August 2015 and the 22nd of March 2017. Are you guilty?
She was like looking away.
Guilty. You were charged with the harassment of Gerald Dunn and Eleanor Dunn between the dates of the 6th of June 2016 and the 22nd of March 2017. Are you guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Now, again, there is obviously a resemblance between...
Do you think so?
Flattery. I don't mean to flatter you or not flatter you. I just think there is a resemblance, having met you, and you both speak Scottish people. But the fundamental point of this is, did you take part in that? So did you go to jail? Did you have a trial?
Of course not.
Have you ever been to prison?
No.
Have you ever been charged with a criminal offence?
No.
Never?
No.
Nothing? So that scene is completely
That's
invented.
completely false, and I don't think the actress sounds like me. I mean, people compare me to Lorraine Kelly, but I'm nothing like Lorraine Kelly. We all happen to have dark hair.
I don't think the actress sounds like me. She sounds like she... The way she said that made it sound like that's something that she's been saying for a while, not something that she just decided to say right now. She said she hasn't seen the show. That would have been the first that she's seen of it. But anyway.
I was Scottish. I think the actress is from Glasgow, but I'm not sure.
And which part of Scotland are you from?
I'm from the Central Belt.
That's a slightly different accent.
It's slightly different.
A Scot would know the difference.
A Scot would know the difference. The Glasgow accent is very
But
different.
that's a fundamental point here, because if they basically have a key point in their drama, which they say is a true story.
So if she's going to come on the program and say she hasn't gone to jail, is there any way to verify that, Piers? Should I be trying to verify that right now?
Story, which involves you admitting to intimidating Richard Gadd and getting a 9-month prison sentence. And that is completely untrue.
That's completely untrue. Very, very defamatory to me. Very career damaging. I wanted to rebut that completely on this show. I'm not a stalker. I've not been to jail. I've not got injunctions into this. This is just complete nonsense. But it's, you know yourself, if you're charged with a criminal offence, it will go fine, bigger fine, whatever. Very few people go to jail
We have a police record
nowadays.
Have you ever changed your name?
My surname was double barreled.
What was it?
Fiona Harvey. So
Can someone look this up for me so I don't take a fucking hour-long detour on this?
Fiona Harvey.
M-U-I-R,
yes,
Harvey.
when the parents got divorced, I changed it to Harvey. I just dropped
So your maiden name when you were born was...
Yeah, that's right.
Was
Muir, yes.
Muir Harvey.
Yeah.
So that's quite an unusual name.
Yeah.
So if you'd ever received a criminal conviction for anything, it would be on police files.
Yes.
And what you're saying is you've never been even charged with an offence.
No.
Let alone the one that they...
Yes, this is 9.5 months in jail is pretty serious.
Did Netflix ever contact you?
No one's contacted me.
Never?
Never.
Did Richard Gadd tell you what he was doing?
No, I had worked it out when I saw the festival Baby Reindeer advert on BBC.
Yeah, the festival.
I just happened to see that. I was looking up the news for something else.
Because that's where he...
I just happened to see that.
Well, that's where he started telling the story, and that got picked up.
I'm shocked. And I think Martha then was a bar stool. I seem to recall reading that. It wasn't an actress or a person, it's a bar stool.
Let me just show a little clip. This is from Lorraine, actually.
Okay.
Her saying that she just happened to see it is also a little sus. I'm still of the mindset that I don't know, and that if, the show creators based something on her and then embellished most of the story, that's a wrong thing to do. And that if you wanted to tell that kind of story, even if you were to say it's a true story, that you should work off of something that it would not be tied to a real person that did not have those allegations or history. I don't know if anybody's able to look up whether or not she's actually been to jail, but...
Let's take a look at this. This is Richard Gadd on Lorraine.
I just thought it was the right time to sort of try and bring a nuanced conversation to something. I think the human condition is extremely complicated, and I felt like a lot of art and TV in this day and age maybe simplified it too much.
It's not a villain and victim storyline. I think you're left with a lot more than that. It's kind of two lost people.
What's your response to that?
I think they're milking it for all it's worth for the money. She doesn't even sound Scottish in that interview. Her accent seems to be varying.
Well, she's not. She's English. She's
I was going to say,
she's focusing on her accent. That's great.
She's English. She's an actress. She's putting on the voice for you.
They're milking it for all they're worth. It's the right time to abuse someone all over social media and all over, basically somebody who's not from Loveyland, not from Theatreland, just abuse me all over the newspapers. They're happy with themselves.
What do you feel about Richard Gadd?
I think it's psychotic, and I think that anyone going along, being in that play and doing this to somebody, I find the behaviour outrageous.
He says the whole thing started because he felt sorry for you, and that's why he befriended you.
Your staff said that to me in the waiting room. This is a lot of nonsense. I've got lots of friends.
What did you talk to him about?
It was just Holly-Ann's banter. It was
like what kind of
what are you going to do with your life, or career stuff, sort of. And I thought he was a stand-up show.
Is it possible he was under the impression that he felt sorry for you?
No, I never got that impression at all. I got the impression that he was all out for himself, wanted to sort of control that bar, very, very inarticulate, very full of himself. I've never been in that bar.
She doesn't think it's possible that he felt sorry for her.
How long did you know him for, Richard Gadd?
2-3 months. 2-3 months, maximum. He only worked there on certain days.
Did you always go on the days he worked there?
No, I've been there on different days having food.
Have other people from the pub contacted you?
Nobody's contacted me.
No one
about this at all, apart from the media, the mainstream media and stalkers on social media.
He says Richard Gadd, he didn't see you as a villain, but as somebody who is unwell and needs help.
Yeah, well, maybe he should look a bit closer to home, to himself, as someone who needs help.
What, you think he's mentally unwell?
Yes.
Is anybody looking this up for me in chat, or do I have to do it? Whether or not Martha Fiona Harvey has went to jail, if that's her real name.
think he always was. Whether there was an alleged rape or whether that rape was real or conceived in his mind, I think that would make him more.
That's a rape that he says happened. It was a television person. We don't know who it was. Somebody was falsely.
Reddit user found articles about Fiona being a stalker years ago. All right, let's see. Found some old newspaper articles, Baby Reindeer TV series subreddit. Fiona referenced in the show. Okay. I'll look more into that later.
Linked with it, who turns out to have nothing to do with it. But it's a very graphic scene in the drama where he is brutally raped after a lot of drugs are taken. And he's kind of he appears to be in the drama very self-reflective about himself. He's no angel, he's not perfect, he's made lots of mistakes, and he didn't treat you in his eyes as a villain, like he says. As somebody who felt that you were both slightly lost souls.
Also, do we know if so? I know that, like, for U.S. prison shit and convictions, you can look that up really easily on the internet. Is that system the same in the UK or no? Is it an issue of being able to find that information publicly just based on how things are set up legally in the UK?
Was in the play until this morning. Somebody's daughter had watched it and told me about it. So I was surprised once again. Well, not surprised actually. I'm really surprised by anything he does nowadays. He seems to have written a couple of other shows about this alleged rape, then this one, and we've had no apologies from Netflix or him or nothing. I mean, for someone who says he feels sorry for me, I've had no apology, and I have this Martha character seems to smash up a bar, sexually assaulted him in a canal, been to prison. There are a number of other allegations.
None of that is true.
That's not true.
He says that people shouldn't try to find out the identity of the real people in the drama. Do you give him credit for that?
No.
He actually tweeted this. People
well,
I love, have worked with, and admire, including Sean Foley, who was the man wrongly accused of being the rapist, are unfairly getting caught up in speculation. Please don't speculate on who any of the real life people could be. That's not the point of our show. Lots of love, Richard.
Piers, I'm sorry, I can't see that. The date of that tweet, I can't actually see it.
That was literally like a few days after it was released.
Right, I saw the headline. It was all over BBC Breaking News 2 weekends ago for 4 days, with Martha promoting herself, the character Martha, Jessica promoting herself, and him saying, don't speculate. Wow, that's a bit rich now, isn't it? The fans do speculate.
Well, it was almost instantaneous. You were tracked down incredibly quickly.
The Wednesday, the Daily Mail got in touch with me, so that was all over BBC Breaking News, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
I mean, the reason that internet slowly to find out it was you was they found the tweets that you sent him throughout 2014. 10th of May, for example, 2014. Richard Gadd, did you get my recorded delivery letter sent to the theatre, sent to arrive bank holiday Monday? So you sent him a letter then?
That was that. Sorry, to hear you were raped, something like that.
12th of June, same year, your tweets cheer me up, the timeline is good. 23rd of September, my curtains need hung badly.
We were trying to encourage him because with this first show or something like that. A long time ago.
Yes, on the 18th of December, please go and see Richard Gadd's show. It's well written and erotic. The filmed bum shots are the best, fantastic ass.
It's a joke. We were trying to encourage him.
Nothing negative though about it there.
No, because I didn't think he was a complete psychopath who was going to attack me in this way.
But the show did involve you.
Sorry?
This show here, not that show there.
That made no reference
to you. This was a previous show.
It made no reference to you, that show.
Which
the one you're talking about.
Yes. So, it's funny this is coming up now. My view is it's all about the money. The Martha Barstow Edinburgh Festival thing wasn't making any money. He failed as a comedian, he failed as an actor, and therefore, let's make some money, sell this to Netflix. I think anyone in their right mind, you had a group of guys on there in their 20s, they don't believe it.
So what was your upbringing like?
I was going to say standard Scottish countryside.
Happy, unhappy?
Impoverished, but middle class upbringing, if you like.
Any siblings?
I have a sister. My mother worked incredibly hard. My parents got divorced when I was 9, but she worked like a Trojan.
Are either parents still alive?
My mother is, yeah.
And how does she feel about this?
I've not talked to her about it. I'm hoping she'll just see the Scottish headlines and that's it. She's not an internet freak or anything
so she has
like
no idea what's happened to you?
She will know bits. She was very, very angry with Laura Walker for doing the original article when I went for Parliament.
You haven't talked to your mother about it?
No, and that may seem strange, but I don't want to worry her. I'll tell her I've been on the show when it airs. I don't want to worry her.
Let me ask you, The Sun reported an interview with Laura Ray, who you've referenced, who accused you of inappropriate behaviour whilst you worked with her. Now, the background to this is that you came into contact with the late Glasgow MP Jimmy Ray, who died aged 78 in 2013, and his sister wife Laura, who was 62, and she was a former Labour Party member. Mrs Ray said that she gave Aberdeen University law graduate, you did graduate from Aberdeen?
Yes.
With a law degree. A trainee role at a legal firm, McPhail Lawrence Partnership in 1997. Is that true?
It's called L&L Lawrence. I think she forgets the name of her own firm. It's called L&L Lawrence.
But that's all true. She gave you a trainee job.
She lured me away from another firm. She headhunted me from another firm because she needed someone to do employment law, and I'm pretty good at employment law. So
she said that she had to sack you days later because you were completely incapable of behaving yourself.
I walked. The staff were really, really rude to me. Most people, half the Labour Party, had been up there at one point or another and walked.
She then said that following you leaving, obviously very quickly, that you then harassed her. You were then known as Fiona Muir, obviously, as you said, Muir Harvey. Mrs Ray said she was so frightened she issued workers at a firm with personal alarms. You were then served an interim interdict to stop you from contacting the lawyer or her politician husband.
She messed up, I know, and I still have to speak to David about that, the author of that Daily Record article. She didn't. She messed up because I went into the Court of Session, the High Court in Edinburgh, to get countrywide interdicts, an interdict and an injunction in Scotland and England because I was going to move to London anyway. She mucked up.
So you went to the court to get them yourself?
Yes, there was no need against Laura Walker and Jimmy Ray.
But she said one was served on you.
Yeah, that's nonsense.
An interim
check this out.
And again, that will be a public record.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I'm not saying that it was never served.
What we think, she served the initial documents, and then she served the initial documents, and then there was no hearing. It wasn't minuted for a hearing. I said I would defend, but she mucked that up too. She didn't fill up a second initial document. She then didn't minute for decree in absence, so there is no interim interdict in Scotland.
Why would two people who have no contact with each other at all?
All right, so criminal records are not publicly viewable unless released by the courts in the UK.
Laura Ray and Richard Gadd. Why would they both portray you as a very unpleasant.
I don't know why Richard Gadd has, but Laura Walker certainly because I was going for parliamentary selection.
It's two different, you get my point, two different
Yeah,
people.
but Richard Gadd has Googled that. Richard Gadd has used that.
Well, that's in the drama.
Show.
It's when they find out that you had previously harassed this family.
I haven't harassed
Which is kind of what I assumed, but...
family. I didn't harass that family. And also I worked for it in 1987, 88. Parliamentary selection wasn't until 2000. He Googled up the article, because I knew he'd done that. I never went back to the Holy Arms. He was spreading it around Camden that I was a stalker. So
You've never married?
No.
Have you had relationships with men? I mean, if you don't mind me being pure.
I'm heterosexual.
Yeah, but how many relationships have you had?
I told the staff that relationships were out of bounds. A lot more than Richard Gadd has, I would say.
He had a lot.
Quite a few.
Right.
Well, I don't know if he had a lot. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
No, see, now you're going, here's my point. Now you're going public. Then the men that you've dated over the years will see this.
Yeah.
They'll be aware of it. They'll hear you.
I don't think that if the next question is going to be am I stalking them, I think the answer is going to be no.
Well, I just wonder how do you think they would view you?
I think they are going to think what I think about Richard Gadd. He's completely off his head.
No.
And I'm not worried about the current one because he's a lawyer and he.
Do you currently have a
believes me,
boyfriend? He's a lawyer.
Yeah.
In London.
Doesn't matter where he is.
How long-
rather,
no, answer, how long have
5
you-
years. 5 years.
You've been in a 5-year
so I don't.
So what does he
I
think
don't
about
want to drag him in. He thinks this is horrendous. All of my lawyer friends do. All of my professional friends do. Other people do. People are being really sympathetic. People I don't know are saying things like, "Are you getting hounded in the street?" You know, people are being really, really nice.
I mean,
anyone who does know about this.
You know, here's the thing. I don't know the truth. You do, and you've been emphatic in the number of denials you're making here.
That's right.
But many of those things that I put to you can be proven.
You're talking about emails and email trail fake.
All that.
You know, all of that. You're obsessed with. Sorry, I don't mean to.
I'm not obsessed with anything.
You've gone on at length for a good 10 minutes about the emails.
Well, only because emails.
Because the last number.
Well, there's a huge number and voice messages. The voice messages he's kept apparently, and there
He's
is.
maybe typing me in the Holy Arms. I don't know if he's got any voicemail.
But if he has 350 voice messages and it's you,
it doesn't mean the drama is true.
but is it possible he's got 350 voice
I
messages?
doubt that very much. I just don't think so.
You doubt it?
Yeah, I doubt it. I mean, unless
Wouldn't
he's
he be
taping me.
And if you've never really contacted him, if he's
He
got
could have taping me in the Holy Arms, though.
if he's got 350,
I've got contact
if he's
with
on his phone.
Yeah, it doesn't matter whether they're on a phone, tablet, whatever they're on. I've got contact.
But I'm curious, why would there even be a possibility of him having that number of voice messages from you?
Because it's crazy. He wants to make this up. I mean, I've not phoned the guy. I don't have his number.
But you're not sure that he hasn't got those.
I'm not buying her from this interview.
I think the only explanation for having a voicemail from me would be taping me in the Holy Arms. That's the only place.
Or that you left messages on his phone.
That's the other explanation, which just didn't happen.
You can't be sure.
I can't be sure because I didn't have his number.
Right, you just said you weren't sure if these were your voice messages.
Yeah, what I mean is somebody could be taping me. You know, somebody could tape me in the Holy Arms
Right,
when I take the phone or.
But if
Something like that.
here's my point to you: is
Yeah.
these are easily provable things.
Yeah.
He's either got them or he hasn't.
Yeah, I mean, we'd
And the
be
emails-
asking for disclosure of that. But
And the emails, obviously, there'll be an IP address, and if that leads to you.
Yeah, I mean, my point is though, even if that were true, I didn't lunge at him across the bar. I didn't sexually assault him in a canal.
Even if that were true.
To jail.
I understand.
So,
but here's my point to you. Here's my point to you, Fiona. And I'm not trying to catch you out. I'm not trying to trap you. I'm genuinely fascinated by this story. I watched the drama. I saw them declare it at the start as a true story. And I've seen the interviews since with all various people. And it's clearly a very complex situation, this. But unless I'm mishearing you, I think what you're saying is that there is a possibility that you send a lot of emails.
No,
and a lot of
no,
voice
I
messages,
didn't say
but that it
that.
doesn't mean that you did the more serious things.
Yeah, I'm not saying at all that I sent loads of emails. You maybe misheard, play back the interview. What I'm saying is a handful at most. If I did, congratulations about the show.
But if he does have 350 voice messages,
I know he doesn't.
and it's your voice,
He doesn't.
and everyone can now hear your voice,
Unless he was taping me in the Holy Arms.
or he just kept them on his phone.
I didn't phone him. You sound unconvinced.
No, I'm
Phone me.
not saying.
I mean, what?
No, so it's your point that are you challenging him to reveal this evidence?
No, I would challenge him to leave me alone.
Because you're calling him a liar, and you're calling Netflix accomplice.
I
to
didn't
be
use those words. I said the story and the play, the Netflix show is not
I would love to see how this lawsuit goes. Has she filed for one yet?
true.
No, but if they say that you sent 41,000 emails,
Well, they
350
are
voice
completely
messages,
wrong.
or 740
They're completely wrong.
So they are lying.
They are lying. Yes, okay, yeah, in effect, he is lying and they are lying. And in order for a dramatisation to be true, it's got to be, the only defences are veritas, I'm telling the truth, or the whole drama needs to be true. They have billed it as a true story, so has he. And it's not. It's blatantly not. Even if the email thing was true, the rest is not. So
Why would you qualify that, Fiona?
Sorry, why would I what?
Why would you suddenly qualify even if it's true about the emails?
I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
Right, but when you say even if the emails were true,
I didn't say 41
it doesn't mean the more serious stuff is.
Let me rephrase that.
That's really weird. I mean, I don't want to force you into saying anything.
Yeah,
That's not actually true. It seems to me that it may be possible that you have communicated all this stuff with him, but that doesn't mean you did the more serious things.
Yeah,
it doesn't
that's
mean
true.
It doesn't mean you attacked his girlfriend. It doesn't mean.
Yeah, why would she say that? Like, why would she say even if the emails are true, I didn't do the more serious things? Like, that's a weird thing to say.
You smashed up a bar. It doesn't mean you did any of those things or threatened anybody else. It just, yes, you had a relationship with this guy and you did contact him a lot.
I knew this guy. I didn't contact him a lot. I've never said that in this interview at all.
No, but interestingly, for me as an interviewer, and I'm just trying to get to the truth. You understand?
No, I
honestly not
I
trying
see
to.
that. It's your show.
I'm not
Yeah,
trying
no,
to
I
trip
see
you up.
that.
I'm just trying to
I
get
see
the
that.
truth. He has put his version out there, and the world is watching.
Absolutely.
Millions and millions of people around the world have had
I
Richard Gadd's
know.
version.
I know.
And I'm simply saying to you that
Yeah.
you have a chance here, Fiona, I think. And take this any way you want, but you have a chance here to concede that some of these things might be possible, but that doesn't mean the more serious things.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm saying is
because the more serious stuff we know is serious, right? If you were
in the jail or something,
if you were a
it's
violent
serious,
stalker, or if you
yeah.
had a previous situation where you got this interim incident, which we know was served on you.
No, it was not. Sorry to interrupt there. No, she has repeatedly maintained this over 25 years. I checked with the Sheriff Clark, another lawyer checked with the Sheriff Clark. We think that the previous scenario happened. She does not have an interim interdict. I think she's quite wrong.
Okay.
If the Sheriff Clark can produce that and say she didn't muck up and limited for decree, why was I not served an interim
If Richard
injunction?
Gadd is watching this, what's your message to him?
Leave me alone, please. Get a life, get a proper job. I am horrified at what you've done.
And you will categorically be taking legal action.
Absolutely, against both him and Netflix.
You said your boyfriend's a lawyer, so this can be done.
He's not doing it. No, I'm not doing it. Somebody else is
Have you
doing
instructed
it. We've instructed them in part, but we want to explore all the options out there. There are a number of people to do. We can't all be in takeovers all at once. So.
Who else are you
She says her boyfriend's a lawyer, but he's not doing it. I mean, he could be working in a different specialty, I guess.
So.
Daily Mail. Anyone that's saying this is true and harassing me and that kind of thing. We have not had time to do everything.
If the investigation, if you sue and there's discovery, and it turns out that 41,000 emails did come from a device belonging to you, how would you feel about that?
I wouldn't be suing if I thought there were 41,000 emails out there.
You understand how easy it is to find them?
I understand completely.
And that if they did exist, and you're categoric that they didn't, it would obviously...
It wouldn't blow the whole case. It wouldn't blow the case against Netflix because... And it wouldn't blow the case against him.
No, you might well...
Making out it's a true story.
No.
You see what I mean? I'm back to my original position.
I understand. And I understand that it's obviously put your life into a very difficult position.
It's very...
And their central claim that they made all this effort not to lead to you being identified, I don't think stands water.
I don't think it stands water.
To me, it's pretty... I've been a journalist 40 years. I could have discovered it was you in about 10 minutes. Once I'd watched.
Yes, I agree. I discovered it was me when I saw the BBC breaking news Baby Reindeer show at the Edinburgh Festival when I was Googling up just the news that day or the weather or something. And this came up and he was holding up a placard or a newspaper article, MP's wife stalker, all you need to do is Google that. Then I saw the name of the show and I thought, bloody hell, what's he up to? And I tried to get a friend to go see the show because she was based in Edinburgh, but she was on holiday. Nobody I know had seen that show either. So I was really shocked. I was very upset for 2-3 days. And then the general plan.
Richard Gadd interview where he said that he didn't throw her in jail because he didn't want to throw someone who was that level of mentally unwell. In prison. In real life, he can't say too much about the real Martha other than it is resolved. Okay.
Of action among my close friends was, look, just let him get on with things. He's not going to be that damaging. You don't really know him. This will go away.
When did you last make contact with him?
Famous last words. Years ago. Years ago, no. I left the Holy Arms, didn't go back, and he was calling me a stalker and things. And there were various things happening in the Holy Arms. Other women were warning me about them and everything. Yeah.
About him?
About him and others with bad conduct.
In relation to the 106 letters that he and Netflix say you sent, well, here's my point. You've admitted sending him one, and that presumably was a handwritten letter.
Could it? Are you thinking I was maybe mistaken that I maybe did?
No. I'm just saying if we accept.
Yeah, it doesn't say that she didn't go to jail. By the way, he had mixed feelings about even going to the police. It doesn't say she didn't go to jail. It says he didn't want to throw her in jail. Thanks, here I am.
That the one that you admit to sending is in your own handwriting. He has another 105 letters in your handwriting. Are you prepared for him to show that one?
He's maybe forged things. I mean, people forge a lot of things nowadays.
Like he had reservations about it.
No, you admit to sending one. My point is, if it turns out the other 105 are exactly the same handwriting, wouldn't that point to
me? You obviously bring in handwriting, but I didn't do it.
You only sent one letter?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I haven't sent that guy 106 letters.
Do you still email people?
What do you mean?
You send emails?
Yeah.
Do you have the same email address you've always had?
I had 6 at one point.
Why?
Because I like to keep people on different phones and different emails. It's easier. Maybe 4. I think it's 4 to 6, yeah. It's easier. It's easier. So you have some for your utilities, some for close friends, whatever. Yeah.
6 is a lot.
Is it?
I don't know anybody with 6 email addresses.
You don't know many people then? I know people with 4 or 6 email addresses.
Was it 4 or 6?
I can't remember. Probably 6.
How many do you use today?
I have 4 phones. I've got 1 today, but I only email to like friends.
And you have 4 phones?
Yeah, 2 broke. They were very, very old. 1 was brand new and broke, and it's still to be returned to the shop. I like keeping people on separate phones as well. I mean, that makes me a maniac or a stalker or something, but if you've got somebody on about your electricity bill or somebody on about some work or something, it's nice to keep it separate, So I did do that in Scotland, didn't have to.
Separate phones?
Do you think if somebody did send someone 41,000 emails...
I think that's excessive, obviously, yeah.
Would that mean someone's stalking someone?
Well, yes and no. I mean, it could be, could be your wife. It could be, you're maybe sending emails every day.
Like yes and no. Do you think it would be excessive if somebody sent 41,000 emails? Yes and no. Could be your wife.
I don't know. 41,000 is a lot. That's how many a day? My master's working this time of night. But it's a lot. Yeah. That doesn't necessarily mean they're stalking somebody. They could be great friends. They could have been friends for 50 years or something.
Was he ever your friend, Richard Gadd?
No. Staff asked me that as well. No, I don't think so.
You had a lot of banter with him.
Yeah, but banter's one thing. Scottish banter down here is quite kind of welcome. It's not really fun city, is it? It's not jokey city.
Were you ever in love with him?
Yes. Is that a serious question?
Yeah.
No.
They found her old Twitter account with the same messages as the show, word for word. Really?
No.
It's not a question of... By his own admission, he has said that he led you on at times. And he clearly
was... the brush off. He asked me to sleep with him with a big green spot in his face one day. I said, no, I'm sorry, I'm not interested.
He asked you to do what?
He asked me to sleep with him. He said, would I like my curtains fixed? And I laughed. And he said, that's a euphemism. Do you want me to come home with you? And I said, I've got a boyfriend. I gave him the brush off big time, I think. Subtly so, but the bottom line is, I think this is behind him. No, I don't fancy him. I don't fancy little boys without jobs. That sounds awful. That sounds really callous, but,
She's acting very similar to how the character did in the show.
People will watch this who watch the Netflix series, and like me, they will be trying to work out where the truth lies. It seems to me that either you're innocent in the way that you've claimed to be, and you've been horribly defamed here. I think at the very least, the Netflix duty of care and Richard Gadd's duty of care has been a spectacular failure.
I agree.
Right, regardless of anything else, regardless of your culpability of anything, the duty of care has failed because people identified you incredibly quickly. So they've made this what they say is a true story, and everyone's worked out it's you, and the picture they paint is of a completely crazed stalker ruining a man's life. albeit he accepts that some of his behaviour may have led the person on.
That's the question. Do you happen to know how much he's made out of this Netflix thing?
I would imagine several £1 million.
Yes, I would say 3 to 4 million. A lawyer I know well thought seems to be nobody, and he suggested 750 to 100,000. I said, no, I think you're looking more about 3 or 4 million. And I think the more he publicises, it goes up. According to how much it's streamed. I don't know the contract they signed. I think he's done bloody well out of defaming.
Do you resent that?
I don't resent any stalk getting on. This is not what this is about.
But he's effectively making money out of what he says.
Making money out of
what he says is
yeah.
you stalking him.
Yeah, he's making money out of untrue facts. He's been the ultimate misogynist. The actress was also not appealing for calm. He was appealing for calm. I think he did.
Why call him a misogynist though? Why call him a? What about the show was misogynist? What about the show was misogynist?
To sort of stir things up more. I think they knew exactly what they were doing, and I think yourself were talking about Martha, the sequel or something like this. It's just completely crazy. It's completely crazy. Well, your staff put that to me and put to me, should I write a book about this? Well, I've got other things to do, but it's a possibility.
You've got a law degree.
Yeah.
Law degree, so you're obviously very bright. How did you do at school?
I've got a photographic memory. I was top of the school, apart from the science.
Which school was that?
Belford High. I went to the science. Person got the most marks because you get 99%.
How many O and A levels did you end up with?
I got 6 hires, 2 SYSs. They were all sort of, most were A-band ones, which was when the A-band one was top of the thing.
And with your law degree, what grade did you get?
Not bad. I mean, all right. I just did an ordinary degree and then diploma in legal practice.
What grades did you get?
All right grades. But, I went out partying. I didn't do an honors degree. So, just gold standard grades.
What grade did you did a law degree?
I did a law degree with 13 subjects, 13 law subjects. So it wasn't a CPE or anything, which I also have from down here, but it was 13 law subjects.
This is from Aberdeen University?
Yeah.
So what degree did you end up with?
A law degree, and then I did a politics degree after that.
And what grade did you get?
Women's studies. I did substantially better than that because I did more work. I think in our day, when you went to university...
There's a reason you say you've got a photographic memory, but what grade did you get?
All right grades. I mean, not top of the year or anything.
When you do a degree, you get a...
Yeah, you're asking me what marks I got for 13 subjects. I can't remember.
Well, no, you end up with it. Did you get a first-class degree?
Oh, no, well, I said I didn't do an honors degree. I wanted to go out and practice, so it was an ordinary degree I did.
Right, but you can't remember how you did?
I did all right. I didn't do top of the year.
The other graduates at the same time, they all remember you.
Some of them remember me. One of them did incredibly well. He's a High Court judge. Some people didn't do well. I think the general idea in the 80s was we didn't really do much work. That sounds absolutely awful. But, that was kind of the 80s.
If you came to it, would you take a lie detector test?
Yeah, possibly, yeah. We need to consult other lawyers about
that. If we set one up, you would do it.
A lie detector test for what?
The police, as you know, the police use them. They're just an indication.
They use them for mass murder and things like that.
Well, actually, they use them in many cases just to determine whether they think someone's...
They don't use them that much. I know you've done the programmes of women behind bars and things. I confess I've never seen one, but it's not used that much.
I'll be honest with you. Since you mentioned it, I've done a lot of crime interviews with people who've committed way worse offences than what you've been accused of. Way more mass murderers, serial killers, and so on. And they're all, I've got to say, almost all of them are very good liars. Could it be, people will be asking this, watching you thinking, either she's genuinely innocent here, or she's a terrible liar, who is capable of all of these things?
I don't lie, and I tell white lies if I absolutely have to. Like when my 94-year-old ex-neighbour was dying, we all knew she was dying, and I phoned her in the hospital the night before, and I lied and said, have a good sleep, everything's going to be fine, and that. So I'll tell a white lie like that when somebody clearly needed some rest. And
how many times did you meet Richard Gere?
Don't know.
What would you guess?
5, 6, maybe 5, 6 times.
That's it?
Yeah.
In your life?
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you think it's come to this, if that's all true?
I think he wanted to make money. I think he picked on somebody. There's a backstory there with that stalker article out there, right? So stalking's in vogue, going to prison's in vogue. What a writer say, or English lecturers or something, write about what you know.
And to people who are watching, look down the barrel of that camera, to people who are watching this and who still doubt you, what do you say to them?
I think you should watch this. I think you should look at the number of articles that Richard Gadd and Jessica the actress have done and how Netflix and he have promoted this. I think you should look at him saying I'm some sort of mental case and judge for yourselves, because I can't change your mind on this. I can just rebut what has been said. You need to make up your own minds. But my mind is made up. He's a liar, and my friends say likewise.
Fiona Harvey, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
I am not convinced by that. That was interesting.
Did you believe her? There are sort of 3 possibilities: truthful, lying.
So is this just like a...
or a severe personality disorder?
I don't really believe a lot of what either side is saying.
We can't find any convictions or plus 29 months in prison.
If that is not true, she's got a whale of a case.
She did slip up.
Everybody dropped him
out there to lay down complete distortions.
I do have a problem if he has invented.
So Critical Drinker is on this for some reason.
Conviction for talking him.
We'll tell you this, it's about as close to a slam dunk if that's true.
I like how he's weighing in with Critical Drinker. Is that a Oh yeah, have I seen that? Is that something I should fucking react to? How much time do I got tonight? Yeah, because Critical Drinker and Nerdrotic was on Piers Morgan before.
I've interviewed many dangerous people in my career.
I didn't watch that
serial
yet.
killers and medically diagnosed psychopaths. The common denominator of all these people tends to be that they're very skilled liars. I think they often truly believe what they're telling me. Well, Fiona Harvey hasn't killed anybody, but she did everything she's accused of doing as Martha in Baby Reindeer. Then she would be an unstable, obsessive, and threatening and sinister stalker who made Richard Gadd's life utter hell, and indeed other people's lives utter hell. But is it all true? Netflix says explicitly at the beginning of the series that this is a true story, not based on a true story or inspired by real events. A true story. Unless there be any doubt about what the streamer company thinks about this, and Netflix policy chief said this to a parliamentary committee in the UK this week.
Baby Reindeer is an extraordinary story.
Fucking Fargo says it's a true story.
And it is obviously a true story of the horrific abuse that the writer and protagonist Richard Gadd suffered at the hands of a convicted stalker. We did take every reasonable precaution in disguising the real-life identities of the people involved in that story.
Well, the series ends with Martha, already a convicted stalker in the series, sent to jail for her harassment of the comedian and his family. And in fact, it shows her admitting that she had done all this before she is sentenced. But no journalist or internet sleuths have found any evidence so far of Fiona Harvey being convicted for anything, let alone harassing or stalking Richard Gadd. It's not a difficult thing to check. And that alone, if it turns out that she hasn't actually been convicted of any crime in relation to Richard Gadd or anybody else, would surely call into massive question the credibility of a lot of the rest of the drama, and indeed what he claims about Martha, Fiona Harvey. Because if that fundamental fact is not true, what else is not true? At what point does fact become fiction? Netflix and Gadd have also claimed, we just heard one of the Netflix officials claim it in Parliament, that they did everything they could possibly do to hide her identity and the identity of other people depicted in the series. But the reality is that she was traced within hours by internet sleuths, simply by cross-referencing her real-life social media posts with the ones that were used in the show. And having interviewed Fiona for nearly an hour, it's also clear to me they deliberately chose an actress who bears a striking resemblance to her, both physically and in the way that she speaks in the series. Now, all of this points to what I would say is a massive duty of care failure by Netflix, by Richard Gadd, and by Clark & Well Films to produce the series. But let's be clear, none of that means that I think Fiona Harvey told me the whole truth. I found her to be intelligent, coherent, combative, and quick thinking. And on a human level, I felt sorry for her that she's become the object of global ridicule and, as she says, the recipient of serious death threats. There were plenty of moments in the interview that rang alarm bells to me. Moments where I think she was frankly lying, as we're about to discuss. That Richard Gadd feels entitled to make millions airing his side of the story, and in the process make very serious allegations against Fiona Harvey, on whom Martha is clearly based in the process, then she is surely entitled to respond and defend herself as she chose to do. As for who is exploiting whom, well, I'll leave that to the court of public opinion to decide, or indeed an actual court if it comes to it. Well, join me to discuss that.
I would love to see the court case. I would love to see how that plays out.
The bombshell interview that's made waves across the world. Celebrity criminal defense lawyer Mark Garagos from Los Angeles, addiction specialist Dr. Drew, I think he's also in LA and from Scotland, YouTube's premier pop culture critic, The Critical Drinker. And here in the studio
YouTube's premier pop culture critic? Oh my God. YouTube's premier pop culture critic, The Critical Drinker. That's so good.
Our centre contributors Esther Krakow and lawyer Paula Roan Adrian. Well, welcome to all of you. We start with Paula and Esther.
I mean, he's huge. He's got numbers, but that's a very funny thing to say. I wonder, like, what could he possibly be adding to this conversation?
You've all had a chance to watch the interview here. What do you make of it?
Absolutely fascinating.
Do I need to change where my webcam is? Hold on. That is crazy. Damn.
Fascinating. And actually what you have done is you provided a window into the world of what happens in a courtroom. You asked a lot of questions, Piers, that I would put to somebody who I was cross-examining in terms of this type of action.
Did you believe her?
It doesn't matter whether I believe it or not. No, let me explain to you why. Because you and I have this discussion a lot about the truth. And my answer to you always is, whose truth?
There's only one truth.
No, there isn't.
You're so wrong.
I mean,
this whole my truth. I'm sorry.
This
whole my truth bullshit is bullshit. There is the truth, which is based on actual facts, evidential facts. And my problem with this whole Baby Reindeer saga is I don't really believe a lot of what either side is saying here. I think a lot of Richard Gadd's stuff that he's come out with is not borne out by facts. And if it turns out that Martha, with her confession in the denouement of the series, confessing to harassing and stalking and getting a prison sentence, if that turns out to not be true, then the slapdash way they've allowed Fiona Harvey to be identified immediately as the person depicted in what they claim is a true story is going to have very good cause, and I'll come to Mark Garagos from a legal perspective in a moment, very good cause, certainly under UK law, I would think, to sue for defamation.
I mean, he's not wrong. He's not wrong when he says that. Like, if they based it on a real life person to such a degree where people were easily able to find out her real life identity and tie it back to that, and they embellished a significant amount of the story, then she can easily sue. So I would love to see how this court case goes. In the meantime, I'm not going to make any like definitive statements on what the fucking facts are.
It does matter.
Well, Piers, no, what you asked me was, or what you said was, there was
because I don't know.
And I disagree with you on that. And let me explain to you why. Because in this country, we have beyond reasonable doubt and we have on the balance of probabilities. We do not have a 100% safe proof in terms of how we can find the truth. We do our best to find the truth, and we do that on the basis of the evidence that is put before the court. Now, your viewers are going to see some of that evidence in relation to whether they've watched the Netflix series. They're going to see some of that evidence in relation to the expert way, quite frankly, that you put questions to Fiona. But that's still all the evidence.
Why is the critical drinker here? This is so funny. Why is he here?
And to be clear, before I come to you, Esther, I do not know exactly where the truth lies. It may be that after this interview has aired and everyone's now dissecting it and talking about it and examining it, and journalists will be testing it, that other stuff may emerge. Nothing would surprise me. I think this is a crazy story from start to finish. But Esther, nothing would surprise me. But as things sit, there does seem to be a massive disparity between what has appeared in the Netflix series and everything
critical dingus
that Fiona Harvey told me. Now, I don't believe everything she told me, but on certain key points which can be verified, yes or no, it's going to be a lot resting on this, because the credibility of the whole show will rest on whether those key things, like was she convicted or not. But what happens? Is that true or not?
Yeah, well, that's the bit where you have to use a bit of common sense. If it's found that she has not been convicted of anything and she didn't spend 9 months in prison like this series is alleging, there's no assumption of probability or anything like that. It's either true or it's not true. And you can look up someone's records and find if they spent 9 months in prison like this series is alleging. I actually happen to think that Martha's story, or a version of the truth, is probably closer to the actual truth. Yes, there is a spectrum here. None of us were there. None of us were direct witnesses, and we can't talk about Richard Gadd's feelings or his truth. Fine, but there are some things that are not based on feelings and on fact. Like if she was convicted, like if she assaulted the girlfriend, like if she sent 41,000 emails, which is ludicrous. I mean, I do think she sent some emails, not like what she said.
I think on the emails.
I do think she sent emails.
Let's play that bit actually from the interview. This is Fiona Harvey talking to me about the emails. So all of this would come out in a court case.
In disclosure, yes.
And you're prepared to do that?
Yes. Because I didn't write in the emails.
Who do you think did?
I have no idea. I think he probably made them up himself. I have no idea. 41,000 emails.
Yeah. I mean, would you...
I gotta make sure Alex is aware of this, because this is not the video that he sent me.
Would you accept that someone who did that would be very obsessive about someone?
Yes. I mean, that's a lot of emails.
Now, what was interesting was when I kept pushing on this, because I thought it was a very important part of the interview, she did then say, Esther, well, even if I did, even if I had sent those emails, it still doesn't mean the rest is true. It was one of the few moments I felt she slipped up, where if I'm a criminal lawyer, again, we'll come to Mark in a moment, who's more expert in these matters, but that seemed to me a very important moment where she was raising the spectre that she may have done, but it still didn't mean the rest is true, which, by the way, if that's the case, she was right to say that. But she didn't actually admit, I sent them. For what it's worth, I think she probably did. I think that Netflix and Richard Gadd must have actual evidence, or they wouldn't have been so precise about the number of emails, text messages, and so on.
It's kind of absurd to imply that Richard Gadd might have sent them himself. If you were trying to build up some kind of narrative of a stalker, you would not need 41,000 emails to do that.
No,
like,
I agree.
a few dozen would have been enough.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
it wasn't him sending them to himself.
I agree. Critical Drink, I want to come to you.
Literally, just interjects to say, I agree. There's no reason for him. Like, he's not an... Why is he talking about Baby Reindeer? He's trying to make himself feel like he should be there. Which is, like, it's not his fault that he's there. This is Piers Morgan's fault for inviting him. Like, this is a weird panel. Like, why is he here?
A wider point about Baby Reindeer in a state. Let me just go to Mark Garrison, because Mark, from a legal perspective, it's probably a different set of rules here. If this was judged on airing in America to the UK, we have tougher defamation laws here, for example. But from what you've gleaned about this, and given her emphatic denial that she was ever even charged, let alone convicted and confessed to the crime, where would she sit legally?
I like how he just kind of moves along without fully acknowledging the drinker. Just like, yep.
But you're right. England has, to my mind, much better rules when it comes to defamation. But having said that, and as somebody who is currently adverse to Netflix, I will tell you, they, in my experience at least, they do tend to take great liberties when they represent what the particular facts are. And specifically in America, you have a doctrine, both defamation by implication, defamation per se, the accusing her of being a criminal, and kind of doubling down on it by saying she served time. If that is not true, she's got a whale of a case.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
We're not even really talking about like the show as an art form. Right? We're here to discuss like the facts of whether or not things actually happened. Why is he here?
Bring in Esther first, just because I was going to come to you. Did you believe a lot of what she was saying? But she was so emphatic with a number of...
Olivia, I was doing a watch along and editing earlier. Don't worry, not much of this is highlight stuff. It's just the last hour or whatever.
Niles, how credible did you find her in that interview with me?
I found about 75% of what she was saying to be true, particularly on the conviction point, because I don't think that you can lie about that. And so far, all the evidence from what we've seen is bearing out. We can't find any convictions of her spending 9 months in prison. I do think that she did probably make some inappropriate advances towards him, but this is also... I mean,
he admits leading her on.
Well, yes, but also this
multiple
is what I'm
times.
say, and I don't want to be lewd. This is someone who admitted to masturbating to pictures of Martha. So clearly, he was not someone of sound mind or the most credible person. He had his own issues, and the way he interpreted any kind of interaction with them, I also think is also due... Well, it'd be valid to scrutinize it as well, because this is not someone that I thought was all there, quite frankly. I think the bigger issue here is the fact the length that Netflix has gone to create this fiction, because they can't actually create a story like this, because they'll be liable to all the kind of social commentary of them glamorizing stalking and all of that. They decided to put their...
Literally, we're just going to have to see how this plays out in court. That's my opinion. Like, we're going to have to see how this plays out in court. Because the court is going to have access to information that we don't. All that we can do is speculate.
Based on a true story label to protect themselves, because they don't actually want to put original content out there that they think people find interesting. They wanted to make this look like it's exactly original.
They're going to be able to get the court summons for all of these social media companies, right?
Wait, let me bring in critical drinker, Bill Jordan, because actually I don't think Netflix could have had a clue how big this was going to blow. I was absolutely stunned how big my interview with Fiona Harvey went from the moment we announced it. To put it in context, I think that I did one post on X just announcing I'd done the interview, and it's had, I think, 10 million views. Like, just one post on X. I mean, crazy numbers we were getting for all of this.
I'm sorry. Like, it's just he feels so out of place here. I don't know who this guy is. Everybody's well dressed except for these two in the bottom corners. I forget who this guy is, but he was at least called on for some sort of like expert opinion not too long ago. Oh yeah, like I don't know why the critical drinker is here. It's so weird.
Numbers of people, I'm sure, will watch it over the next week or so. But put it into context for those who are not familiar with the whole Baby Reindeer phenomenon. How
like, why would you ask him to come on this panel? What the fuck?
Why?
I mean, it's something that a lot of people are talking about, and I think it's just...
All right, hold on.
Put it into context for those who are not familiar with the whole Baby Reindeer phenomenon. How big has this been worldwide?
I mean, it's something that...
Did he ask critical drinker?
On the interview, and it's had, I think, 10 million views. Like, just one post on X. I mean, crazy numbers we were getting for all of this, and crazy numbers of people, I'm sure, will watch it over the next week or so. But put it into context for those who are not familiar with the whole Baby Reindeer phenomenon. How big has this been worldwide?
I mean, it's something that a lot of people are talking about, and I think it's just the nature of the medium. Like, sometimes certain things just go viral and absolutely take off way beyond what anyone expected.
So he's getting critical drinker to talk about how big of a phenomenon it's been worldwide. That's That's what he called him. He's like, all right, drinker, tell us how big of a phenomenon this has been worldwide.
But put it in context for those who are not familiar with the whole Baby Reindeer phenomenon. How big has this been worldwide?
This is what you're here for, is to put it into context how big of a phenomenon this has been worldwide.
I mean, it's something that a lot of people are talking about, and I think it's just the nature of the medium. Like, sometimes certain things just go viral and absolutely take off way beyond what anyone expected. It was the same deal with something like Tiger King back during lockdown, an obscure documentary, but for some reason it just captured the public consciousness, and suddenly everyone was talking about it. And it just, every once in a while it happens, and it's definitely been one of those shows. I mean, it definitely helps that it's a very well-acted show, it's well-written, it's well-produced, it's genuinely a good piece of drama, and it deals with a lot of interesting issues that are definitely worth talking about. So all of those things were working in its favor, and as a result, yeah, it's become probably way bigger than Netflix ever predicted that it would.
If it was a work of drama, and they said it's a fictional account...
That was... You could have gotten literally anybody to say that. That was a... It's very odd that he's even here. Like, does he need to fill up time? Like, what the fuck?
But maybe loosely based on something that may have happened. That's one thing. I think by Netflix going all in at the start, saying this is a true story, and by their executives going into Parliament and speaking under oath and saying this is a true story.
I guess they're friends. I don't know.
And saying she was convicted, with I don't think they got the evidence to support that statement. And then saying that, we did everything we could to protect identity. No, you didn't. You chose an actress who looks very like her physically, and you made her speak very like her. You made her behave and talk very like her. I know, because I've now sat down, interviewed the real Martha. We're bringing Dr. Drew. Dr. Drew, you're one of the great psychologists I've ever met in my life. So give me a bit of psychoanalyst about all this.
Well, there's a lot going on here, Piers. Thank you for having me. By the way, your job in the interview was absolutely masterful, because people get very frustrated that somehow you're supposed to go at people when you question their veracity of what they're saying, when in fact the reality is what you want to do is exactly what you did, present the facts and then ask questions. We express wonderment what might be going on here. And she did slip up on the email. She did say, well, if I sent the email. So somebody saying 41,000 emails has got a problem. And there's sort of three possibilities. She's lying, she's truthful, or she has something called anosognosia, which is a block in the ability to see reality. Serious mental illness, serious personality disorders, literally distort reality and cannot assess.
I can understand why he's on the program. Like, he's offering something.
And I mean, look, she was obviously very intelligent, no question of that. When you watched her, I mean, we did an interview for 45 minutes. I wouldn't say I'm the easiest interview you're ever going to conduct in her kind of position, but I thought she conducted herself.
Why are there 6 people here?
Admittedly well, actually, all things considered. I don't think she's ever done a television interview before, and she was being held to account. I don't think I held back with her, albeit I don't actually know where the truth lies. I don't want to go too hard or too soft. But what was your assessment of her as an individual?
Again, you can't know whether I've not assessed her, so I have no direct knowledge. And there really, as I said, 3 possibilities: truthful, lying, which is a volitional thing, or a severe personality.
So is Piers Morgan uncensored? This is the name of the program, Piers Morgan Uncensored. Is this aired on television or no? Or is this like their YouTube side project? Does anybody know? What's his main network?
Or consider things like dissociative identity disorder, where people really don't even remember what they've been doing. So you're talking to somebody who's in a different reality. Those kinds of personality disorders can literally distort everything. And by the way, he has some evidence of this stuff.
What network is he usually on?
He is portrayed in the series. He has some significant stuff as well. So what he is portraying as reality may also be distorted.
Another question, Drew, of stalkers generally. Let's assume for a moment she's guilty as they depict her in the thing. Most public figures have had experience with stalkers in some way. I know that you have. I know that I have. I know friends of mine who've had terrible experiences, really terrible. The BBC star who's now doing a podcast, Emily Maitlis, has had nearly 30 years of hell. It's been documented through courts and stuff. Very, very hard to deal with these kinds of people when they do get fixated. How much of this kind of stalking goes on where it doesn't...
It's on some network called Talk. Is that like on cable? Talk TV streaming service? Okay, interesting.
Involve a sort of explicable attachment to somebody in the public eye, where maybe people watch people on television or entertainment or whatever.
Gets a lot of YouTube views. Piers Morgan's like a big figure.
With that, I can sort of understand that dynamic. It's harder to understand on a sort of local pub level where someone makes them a cup of tea and all hell erupts from that moment. But is it more common than we think?
Oh, absolutely. Simple stalking, which is really what this is a case of. It's people with personality disorders, which is something we have a lot of these days.
It really seems like Drinker is here for Piers to do him a favor. I think Piers really likes Critical Drinker. It really seems like he is here as like a favor.
Who become obsessed, usually with a romantic attachment that is brief, and then off it goes, and it can go for decades. And the object of the stalking needs to end all contact. Any negative contact, even with law enforcement, tends to actually exacerbate things. So there's 2 ends of the stalking spectrum. One is called simple stalking, which is not so simple, and the other end is psychotic stalking. And psychotic stalking is what I had. Somebody who was actually a meth addict had a delusion about a relationship with me, and those guys, you actually can grab. Law enforcement's very good at getting those and bring them into treatment, and they get better. But the ones with the personality disorders can just go on almost interminably.
Right.
You had a meth addict stalking you? Crazy.
Fiona Harvey watching the court scene from the Netflix drama. There's one key point in the drama that has Martha's character pleading guilty to intimidating Richard Gadd in court and sentenced to 9 months prison time. Let's watch.
You're charged with the stalking of Mr. Donald Dunn between the dates of the 14th of August 2015 and
it's
the 22nd
also a
of
television
March
channel?
Are you guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
In what
You're
country?
charged with the harassment of Gerald Dunn and...
Now, Mark Garrix, what's interesting is the other charge there, where she's supposedly admitting to that as well, involved a woman and her MP husband, who she worked briefly for the legal firm and then apparently harassed them for a long time afterwards. She emphatically denies that, but it appears that at worst there, she may have been served some kind of interim legal thing. Certainly, it never got as far as anything to do with a courtroom or any charging of any criminal offence, or let alone a conviction. So again, there are two separate things here, both of which she emphatically denies, and both of which so far there is zero evidence that she ever went into court. So let's talk just about, before I get to that, the duty of care aspect for a company like Netflix, one of the most successful media companies in the world, in fact in history, raking in billions of dollars a year. What kind of duty of care do they have if they slap "this is a true story" over something like this, and it turns out it may not be true?
Well, it's almost inexplicable that they would allow an executive to go and testify, that they would then have this as a central feature of the series, and then would just concoct this. I mean, I'm dealing with now, and I've dealt with in the past their legal department, and it's about as robust as you can get. So both their in-house counsel and their outside counsel. So a lot of this does not make sense to me, or has some kind of, there's something peculiar going on. Even her reaction, though, to watching that seemed just a wee bit peculiar to me as well. So there seems to...
My eyes just keep going back to the drinker, who just seems like he's waiting for someone to call on him. Like, I don't know why there's 6 people here. It's not just him. Like, this is a weird panel.
Not make sense to me, or has some.
He looks so awkward.
Even her reaction, though, to watching that seemed just a wee bit peculiar to me as well. So there seems to echo some of your other guests here. There seems to be something that is there that is
Rupert Murdoch. Nice.
The truth has not come out here in terms of what actually happened, because I cannot believe Netflix and their legal team has let this go this far.
I bet Rupert loves the drinker.
There was also there's a graphic male rape scene in there, but it involves a lot of heavy-duty drug taking leading up to it, which Richard Gadd is very honest about. He had a lot of problems. He had a lot of sexual experimentation, a lot of drug taking, and so on. That's not to say the rape didn't happen, but what did happen as a consequence of it, again, pertaining to the duty of care aspect, is that rather than the actual person who is believed to have committed the rape being identified, somebody else in the television industry was wrongly identified, smeared all over social media. He also got threats and unwanted attention. And the real person has not yet been identified. So the whole thing is a complete mess. But this idea that Netflix went out of their way to protect people who they were depicting, I think it's for the birds, frankly.
There are a lot of
it's kind of interesting, sorry to jump in there, that they were able to identify this woman.
Sorry, he jumped in. Let's see.
Who they were depicting, I think it's for the birds, frankly.
There are a lot of
it's kind of interesting, sorry to jump in there, that they were able to identify this woman within a matter of hours, a relatively obscure private citizen, and yet this person who committed the rape against Richard Gadd, who's presumably a public figure and quite senior and well known, nobody seems to have been able to track down the real person.
Well, Richard Osman has said on, I think on his podcast, that everyone knows who it is, including him. I mean, I would have thought someone should say then, well, who is this person? Or at very least go to the authorities and have this properly investigated. So again, Paula, it's all a mess. I mean, I watched it, and Richard Gadd is obviously quite a damaged guy. He's obviously talented. He's obviously had a lot of success with this, but it's an interesting journey. He started off doing it on stage in front of small audiences, and it could be that he just saw an opportunity, which is what Fiona Harvey told me, to make a lot of money out of this. And
to be fair to the drinker, I would feel just as awkward on this if I were asked to go on this like, I wouldn't belong here either. Right? Like, what? Why would you just ask? Why would you ask a YouTube person who talks about movies or whatever? Like, why are they there?
Didn't ever consider the potential consequences of not everything being completely true.
Dealing first of all with Netflix and their duty of care, there are a lot of question marks, aren't there, Piers? First of all, did they consult with any stalking organisations, for example, to understand what the impact of this show was going to have on the wider audience?
Apparently they did. So that they did. But what they cannot get away from is that they have this actress and they have Fiona Harvey, and they look like they could be pretty similar people, and they're both speaking Scottish. The actress is not actually Scottish, but she speaks in a Scottish accent very similar to Fiona Harvey. And a lot of the stuff that they put on screen, which includes actual phraseology, which came directly from tweets.
Why would he accept ongoing on this? I would accept ongoing this. I would accept ongoing on this. I'm critical and I'm drinking. Okay. That's my excuse.
Harvey posted. So that's how the sleuths found her. They just put in things like the curtains quote and so on. And up she came straight away. Turned out she was retweeting me quite a lot as well at the time. So she was quite an active social media user. But people found her in 10 seconds.
Yes.
That's not a duty of care.
Well, then the next question mark is in terms of that duty of care, when they were considering this project, as it would have been then.
What was that? What was that shitty Twitch podcast where they just got a bunch of people at once?
Why choose the entertainment route as opposed to the documentary route? And what were the questions that were being asked about that? Because you have to understand that as a viewer, what we are being told is that we are sitting down and watching crude entertainment. We are being told that this is a true story. It's a harrowing story. And I just wonder if this was really going to be about showing evidence in somebody who had been severely harassed, suffered, countless criminal actions against them and against others, why they didn't choose to go down.
I mean, we spoke to her, our team spoke to her today, and Esther, she is still getting bombarded with phone calls. People found her number very easily. And she's getting a lot of threats from people who believe that she is this psycho stalker who got convicted for the psycho stalking without there actually being so far any evidence. And you've got to think, if Netflix had any evidence she had been convicted, we'd have seen it by now. Yes. It's a pretty serious thing to put at the end of a true story series if that turns out not to have happened.
Yeah, and you have to wonder why Netflix decided to go down the route of calling it a true story. story. I hate to draw parallels here with the royal family, but I feel like this is kind of like a Meghan, Harry royal family situation, because you have one party speaking their truth and going to the media and saying whatever they want, and you have the other party that you know is probably not going to say anything just because of protocol and what is expected of them. I actually think Netflix banked on the fact that Martha, real life Martha, would never actually speak out. I think they banked on the fact that she would do an interview and say her side of the story and say, listen, none of this happened, at least not in the way that because there are no
Well, let me bring in Dr. Drew on this point, which is Richard Gadd himself is a self-confessed, very damaged guy. He admits that very openly, honestly. He took a lot of drugs. You see that depicted in the series. He had relationships with trans women, he had relationships with gay men, with straight women, and so on. He admits to a lot of experimentation with that, a lot of it fueled by drugs and so on. How reliable a witness is he to even his own life?
No, absolutely. That was the point I made a few minutes ago, which is that he is also distorted in his not just memory, but his actual perception of reality. Just take the reckless drug use; that is enough to lay down complete.
Why did you mention the relationships with gay men before you? What did that have to do with him being a reliable narrator? Why did you mention? Sorry, let's listen to that again. That was a crazy sentence.
He admits to a lot of experimentation with that, a lot of it fueled by drugs and so on. How reliable a witness is he? He took a lot of drugs. You see that depicted in the series. He had relationships with trans women. He had relationships with gay.
The drugs thing, yes, I can understand. Before you start to scrutinize the reliability of the narrator, like, okay, yeah, he did a lot of drugs. Is he that reliable? But why are you mentioning he had relationships with gay men and trans women?
Men, with straight women, and so on. He admits to a lot of experimentation with that, a lot of it fueled by drugs and so on. How reliable a witness had, guy. He admits that very openly, honestly. He took a lot of drugs. You see that depicted in the series. He had relationships with trans women, he had relationships with gay men, with straight women, and so on. He admits to a lot of experimentation with that, a lot of it fueled by drugs and so on. How reliable a witness is he to even his own life?
That was a weird sentence. He tried to tie it back to being like, oh yeah, a lot of that was fueled by drugs.
No, absolutely. That was the point I made a few minutes ago, which is that he is also distorted in his not just memory, but his actual perception of reality. Just take the reckless drug use; that is enough to lay down complete distortions of what was actually happening at the time. Plus the trauma, plus the recurrent traumas, plus he must have some characterological things going on as well from all those traumas. Think about being a trauma survivor, particularly in childhood trauma. His father was a trauma survivor. These things have a way of recurring themselves, and the distortions of how they happen can be profound. So who knows where the truth actually is? It's going to be very difficult to tell. But you were zeroing in on the one thing, which is what is the evidence? Let's look at the emails. Let's look at the letters. Let's look at the court documents and see what actually there is hard evidence of.
And if there is actually a court, if she does sue them, it gets to discovery, then all this will.
I don't think the critical drinker is like a bad person. I think that he is the subject of audience capture, and I don't think that he doesn't believe what he's saying. I just think that he's like confused sometimes.
Come out because I can't believe if it is her that sent all this stuff. I mean, I thought actually the crucial thing for me were the handwritten letters because
I don't think he's a bad person.
The guy claims to have 106, I think. She admitted to sending him one. Well, it's very easy for experts to look at I'm sure, Mark Garrigos, I'm just bringing you in quickly on this point. It's very easy, isn't it, for experts to look at a handwritten letter and compare it to 105 others and work out whether they're all the same person.
You almost don't even need an expert for that. And you can do requests for admissions, you can do a document production, and if they don't have it, that's a real problem.
Critical thinker. You are a critical thinker, but crucially also a critical drinker. You're in Scotland. What's the vibe in Scotland? The Daily Record today splashed on an interview with her about my interview with her. Obviously, a lot of interest. But what's the general feeling about this?
I mean, I don't claim to speak for all the people of Scotland on this interview, but
trying to make him a part of the conversation.
Anyway, so I think there's just general interest in the case. It's stirred up a lot of interesting discussions about the whole nature of stalking, the fact that yes, it can happen to men as well as women. And I guess that's a useful conversation to have. It's a useful realization to have.
And what about the people who say immediately to me the moment I announced I was doing the interview, how dare you exploit a mentally ill woman? What would you? Having watched the interview, do you think that's the way it came over?
I mean, it's not my place to make a ruling on her mental state when it comes to this stuff. If she came forward as a functioning adult, who was able to make her own decisions and decided she wanted to do the interview, that's her decision. It's not me to say whether she should have or not.
I also think that's quite unfair because you're making a judgment of her mental health based on basically what's looking more like a fictionalized series.
And also, her whole point of doing the interview is that she believes she has been exploited by Richard Gadd, by Netflix, and by Clark and Well Films. That's why she did the interview. She thinks she's been deliberately exploited. Let's take a look at another clip. This is her talking about the money being made here.
Can I ask a question? Do you happen to know how much he's made out of this Netflix thing?
I would imagine several million pounds.
Yes, I would say 3 to 4 million, according to how. I don't resent money out of
male journalist interview. What's
making money out of untrue facts.
Paula, I mean, what's interesting is a Daily Mail journalist interviewed her, and then she did start to bombard him with calls. He says he got over 50 calls in a few hours and so on. So that is indicative of somebody who may have done this before. It doesn't mean she necessarily did everything she's accused of doing, but it's interesting.
It is interesting. What else is interesting that I found from your interview is that she was able to recognise herself, she says, from when the Baby Reindeer was a theatre show. And I found that quite intriguing because I didn't understand why somebody who considered themselves to not have anything to do with a gentleman, to have perhaps met them 5 or 6 times, to have perhaps sent one letter, to have perhaps sent 5 or 6 emails, would then suddenly be able to recognise themselves from a theatre show. I wasn't clear about how she made that link.
But off-the-cuff comment about the Baby Reindeer as well.
Interestingly, she did. Yeah. Interestingly, she has gone on.
Apparently, yeah, also with her claiming, at one point claiming that it wasn't her and then, claiming she didn't send all those emails. Like, I don't know.
to identify herself, as well as I accept being identified by the sofa sleuths, but she has also continued to identify herself as being that character. The only person we're yet to hear from identify her as that character is Richard Gadd. Now, when we talk about Richard making money out of this, do I have a problem with that? Not particularly. There's lots of criminals, even who are serving sentences who will make money.
I do have a problem if he has invented her conviction for stalking him. I think if he's making a lot of money out of a false narrative. And Mark Garrigos, again, coming back to the legality of this is why I think she may have, if what she's saying is correct about that, I think that you may conclude watching the interview, look, I don't think she's telling the truth here, and here. But on that central point, if she is able to establish beyond any doubt that she was not convicted of any offence, let alone admit it, and has never been to court in relation to any of this stuff, I think she has a pretty open and shut case.
Well, there's nothing that I've ever seen that's open and shut, but I will tell you this: it's about as close to a slam dunk if that's true. But I'll tell you, there's some just peculiar reactions. There's some peculiar things, and like I said before, the robust in-house and outside counsel that they have, I just cannot believe that everybody dropped the ball on this. That just seems unbelievable to me.
I mean, that's the real scandal here. Netflix. I mean,
well, I'll tell you what, I've asked. Listen, I'm a big fan of Netflix. I watch it all the time. I think it's run by very smart guys. I know some of them personally. If they want to come on and talk about this, absolutely, we have an open platform to hear their side of events. I'd love to know what Richard Gadd told them, or whether they relied on everything he said and what evidence he gave them. And maybe, as she said, maybe he's concocted some of this himself. I don't know. I don't think any of us can say with any real certainty at the moment exactly what we think has happened here, or how much of either account is true. And that's what makes it, of course, as Critical rightly said, it makes it such a talked about thing because there are so many unanswered questions. And I always come back to Richard Gadd admits that he did lead her on quite a lot, that he did perform sex acts to her picture on his laptop. That's weird, right? I mean, I don't care what your view of the whole thing is, but that doesn't say to me that you're necessarily.
That's not good enough. I feel like he's dressing it up. Just because you admit, I may have done something wrong, I may not have been in the best mental state, doesn't mean you get to basically lie about her criminal convictions. That's what I have the biggest issue with.
Whereas my big issue in listening to this, and I'm a little bit uncomfortable with some of the things that I've heard you say, Piers. For example, that he was using drugs. For example, well, yes, but why is that?
Serious?
Yes, I know that. I've watched it. But what I'm concerned about is the vulnerable people who may be watching this, who are thinking, oh, okay, my skirt was a little bit too short. Oh, okay, maybe I had too much to drink. So it must be. That's why I'm saying this. That's why I'm saying this. We need to be really careful.
I was going to his credibility and whether if you take a lot of hard drugs for a sustained period of time, as he openly shows as he did, then that can affect, as Dr. Drew rightly said, and Mark Garrigos I'm sure would say the same in a court of law. It obviously impacts on your credibility.
He also referenced why he thought that he had been abused and why he thought he'd been raped. And when you watch the show, he explains why he did it.
I think the Baby Reindeer is an unbelievably compelling one.
I think that's a weird hang-up to be like, oh, he was taking drugs for this portion of time that he said he was in the show, and then he wasn't. But like so much of the show, it wasn't within that timeline, right? That's a weird thing to say about the credibility.
I don't think that's that. You sat and watched it as I did the weekend. It is completely compelling, brilliantly acted, very well written, very powerful. But is it drama or is it reality? And that's the reality of the debate. Let me just go to Critical Drinker about the possibility. Of course, when a stream has a massive hit like this, the natural inclination normally is to order the sequel. Are we going to see the sequel? And if so, am I going to be in it? And if so,
what a dumb question. Are we going to see a sequel? What the fuck? Piers is trying really hard to make Critical Drinker feel like he belongs on this panel in any way.
What are the chances of getting Brad Pitt?
Who's going to play you, indeed? Yeah, I mean, we could have now Martha's Revenge, where she goes on this trip to clear her name. You don't know where they could potentially take it. But yeah, when you get something of this level of success, they're either going to try and continue the story, or they're going to try and do things in a similar vein. It'll become a series of true life stories of revenge or stalking, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, there's a lot of potential there, and if they can make money out of it, I'm sure they will.
Listen, thank you to all of you. A brilliant panel, I have to say. I thought you all were great on this. It is a fantastic, fascinating story, and I do not know how this will play out. Other than
that was so weird.
Every right to have her say, and what she said to me will now be properly examined, I'm sure, by the world's media, and maybe we will get to the real truth about all this. But I suspect we'll end up where we are at the moment, which is the truth is it was a hell of a mess, and that's where we are with this. Anyway, thank you to my panel, much appreciated.
That was so weird. I would be just as awkward and just as out of place if I got invited there. I think it's Piers' fault for inviting him on in a panel where it didn't make any sense to have him on, honestly.
Hey everyone, Olivia here. It's July of 2024, so let's update the Patreon credits. My $5 and up patrons are Michael Bradley, Jordan A, Sam3824, Clarice Carlson, Nico Fuentes, Joel999, Speak of the Joker, The Flying Marlin, Silver Wolf, Randos, Lobster Sight, Lobsterite, Mayra Geek, Mead Marmalade, Silverwind, Skanot On, Happy the Knife, Coolest Shirt, OpenClassActions.com, Emil, Blank, Juno the Kinslayer, T King, Saliv88, Electrica an Ordinary Bad Gamer, Yup, The Super One Player, Zachary Kane, Gabriel Herrera, and Lemonade Warrior is participating in the Lemonade Warrior is participating in the hit game Among Us and is considered the encroacher. Okay, that was terrible, but give me a break. I haven't been like doing this recently. Speaking of which, sorry for how long I've been inactive. Scott's passing hurt a lot. I can't help but think about him pretty much every day. But I can't keep crying about it forever. Rest in peace to Scott. I'm glad to be back, and thank you, everyone, for supporting me. I appreciate it.